Welcome back to Art Unscripted, where we explore the world of art through conversations with people shaping how we see, experience, and live with it. I am Gayatri, and thank you so much for joining us today.
I think I breathe art. It's simple as that. I see art, I breathe art. I need good aesthetics around me.
In this series, we're talking about collecting, not just what we collect, but how collecting reflects who we are, what we value, and how we see the world. My guest today is someone whose life and work reflects this beautifully. Puneet Kaushik. He's a contemporary artist, a curator, craft advocate, and over the years, a passionate collector. His collection is personal, intuitive, and layered, just like his artistic practice. Puneet, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's begin with, do you remember the first work of art you ever bought?
Yes, the first work of art that I bought were two chairs, and that was because, and I collected my pocket money over a period of a year, I think, to buy these two antique chairs that still are over here. And it's something that I wanted to have in my bedroom. And well, it took a year for me to, and every time I would almost go and pay like an EMI to that guy and tell him, keep it for me. And I was too young, but that's how I picked up my first two pieces.
Wow. And how old were you around?
I was around 15, I think. 15 or 16, yeah.
Wow. So you really started early.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to ever collect so much, but yes, over a period of time, anything beautiful I see, I have to have it.
So what drew you to those chairs? Was it an
Uh,
emotional pull?
So
Visual?
one, I think it was more the fact that I could only have one piece that was mine or that would reflect me in the entire house, and that was my bedroom. So it had to be special. It had to be something more than something. And I think these were two Shekhawati chairs that I had picked up, and I knew they were just the right amount of, carving and everything that I wanted to have. And so it was utility come this. Initially, at that stage, you think of what can be both worth like having and invest. And it's your parents' home. So they should also be happy with that. It's something that's going to. So that's how it was.
And were your parents collectors also? Did it come
No,
from
we
that?
were a very middle class family with 4 kids. So my mother is a shopaholic and we would go shopping things and stuff like that. But yeah, she has very good taste, and I must say both my parents had. So I ended up having good taste thanks to them, but no, they weren't collectors.
So over the years, how has your approach to collecting changed from that first time?
Um, I don't know. Slowly, every time I saw anything nice, I had to like kind of think how I could utilize it, or I just wanted to have it. I have picked up things like feathers, antique old feathers, which you don't get, things that are banned, just because I also wanted to keep restoring things and saving them because I kept feeling uh, I might not get to see it again. I might not. So it was just more to kind of preserve things or to hold hold on to these things because that's the only way you can save them. So, and I knew coming to me would be in safe hands. I think so. So that's how it was.
So tell me a little bit. I know there's a lot that you've collected, but tell me a little bit about your collection. If you had to give a kind of a description.
So I have picked up folk art, tribal art, contemporary art, a lot of contemporary art. I've picked up vessels and utensils. I've picked up religious objects. I love religious ceremonial objects, maybe Tibetan, maybe Bhutanese, and especially those because they were very of much more interest to me than just getting the typical kamandals and stuff like that, bhiksha bowls,
Oh,
and
lovely.
and then the lacquer bowls and Jaini like a lacquer bowls and all. Then a lot of Jewelry, I love jewelry. So a lot of hand-beaten busted jewelry. I probably have maximum designs in them. Silver jewelry. Then as I started earning better, I started picking up some old good uh, traditional gold jewelry. So, and silver and gold has been of lot of interest, but just less. But a lot of tabletop accessories, objects, uh, and icons. Some of them are here, but I love icons. I love iconography of any sort and anything, symbolism. So masks and textiles, because textiles are also a little wearable. So slowly I moved to a space where I also want to use some of these things. And initially, like this is good 25, 30 years back, when I would travel, we would always have a stopover. Flights didn't go straight to the US and all. So I would go to any country, I would pick up one musical instrument or a music piece, one vessel, something in terracotta. I love terracotta. So like 5 things were a must: textiles, terracotta, music, vessels, and some form of folk or tribal art.
Wow,
So
that means you have a lot of musical instruments also.
smaller musical instruments or music cassettes and
Okay.
tapes and CDs. So whatever it would be, like I had to pick up something. That's how. It's also when I knew I'm traveling, I would pick up things like that.
So, I mean, generally, it is a rule in a way, unsaid rule, that wherever you go, you have to take a piece of that place,
Yeah,
bring it back.
it's beautiful to bring it back. Even when I went to Pakistan, the only thing I thought of picking up from there was as much of terracotta bowls and parats and old vessels, because it was in a way bringing Pakistan ki mitti back home, and that was one country once. So for me, that is the kind of.
Have you ever bought something? I guess I would answer no, but like, have you ever bought something you regretted or something you want to let go?
No, not at all, because I don't know. I think I'm always trying to see. There are moments when I will pick up something, and there are moments when I won't, and I'll just keep going back to it and trying to understand more so now, just to be very sure whether I have so much that do I need to add something more to my collection? Do I need to have more? And I don't really think of it as a collection, it's just a part of me or an extension of me. So I think with age, you also start, narrowing down your own this thing.
Yeah, and I think also you're filled up storerooms. I mean, where are you
Too
going to
much.
put it?
I don't have space anymore, so.
For people, a lot of people who don't have art around it, would you describe how is it to live with art around you?
As an
Every day.
artist, I know one thing for sure. I think I breathe art. It's simple as that. I see art, I breathe art. I need good aesthetics around me. And that's only possible either in textiles or in, some form of folk or tribal art or something. So even a piece of furniture has to kind of speak to me. Simple. Or it has to have an emotional attachment.
Art, we always say, is a bit of a reflection of us, and we also change over time. So do you see a kind of a change in what you would buy when you were younger and what you buy
Definitely,
now?
definitely.
And how does that reflect on
There was a
you?
time when I was younger, I think I wanted to pick up more pop, more color. Now I like more muted, and I don't know, the shift is because of what, but I prefer things to be far more muted, and I like to pick up a very beautiful technique or a form of folk art. I want to know how, like ikat, for example, is one of my favorites. Anywhere I go, because I know the whole tedious process, how ikat is woven, how it's built, the whole mathematics behind of just weaving a fabric. So now it's also technically what is involved in creating that piece becomes important.
The time, the
Yeah.
kind of skill,
Effort, energy.
yeah. And a lot of this is slowly dying, right? And so
That's the sad part. I'm actually very happy that when I had less money, I bought more, because the pieces that I bought then, the artistic quality or the craftsmanship, the technical know-how of those pieces was far more superior, more intricate, more detailed as compared to what I'm picking up now. Because today things are far more different and the way they do it. So
I, in fact, personally tell people also as much as possible that instead of spending a lot of money on a designer bag. If you buy something that's beautifully created, we can keep those crafts alive, and
True. I feel anywhere I go, I need to definitely wear a piece of craft on myself. That's how I see myself. I like to advocate or believe in the fact that anywhere I am, I have to have a piece of craft on myself.
So, I mean, like you've talked a lot about indigenous art craft. What about your contemporary art collection? What is it that draws you to certain pieces?
So it's a conflict of interest, honestly, when it comes to contemporary. But yes, I admire some artists, and there are some artists I've always liked to see. It's just the stroke that they would create, or anything, or the palette. So those are little no-harms that you kind of wonder and think, okay, if somebody can do such a good job with it, why not? But
so would you say that even given that you have so much kind of inclination to craft and pure skill and embroidery, would you say even in contemporary art, you kind of, if you see a lot of skill and you see a lot of
definitely
workmanship, that kind of attracts you more than?
Definitely. But yes, I know this, that for me, at some level, abstraction works better than because when you say skill, a lot of people kind of start relating to very realistic kind of form of art, which I think photography is taken over very beautifully. So I still like the skill to have the quality of thinking more conceptual and yeah.
So I'm going to now ask you a few questions around you as an artist and your relationship as an artist with your collection, As someone who makes art, how does it shape your view when you're collecting it as an artist?
How does it shape my work, or how does it shape
what you collect first? I'm going to ask you the second one also.
So it's two sides of the coin, I think. It's very clear. I work a lot with textiles, so I'm drawn more towards textile now. I love excellent skills. So every work of my artwork, contemporary artwork that I practice, has definitely some form of a skill, which is a folk or a tribal indigenous technique that might be dying or is there, like the Tibetan way of doing the beadwork. Is something that is almost diminished. It's no more there. But I have done this for last 35 years in my canvases, and that's purely because I saw that going, and the best way to restore it or save it is to kind of put it into a form of art that just then stays.
Do you also see, collecting as a form of dialogue with other artists or practices ever?
Collecting works is more of a personal choice. My wife's a textile designer. That's again something that's drawn me towards picking up more textiles now than before. And so it's a whole thing that is a more individual journey, I think. So in respect to other artists, I don't know.
Okay. You, I think, already talked about, the beads, but is there like a specific single work that you've collected that you felt that you kept on looking and it influenced your own art practice? Can you identify
many pieces? There are many forms of embroideries. There are many ways of seeing different crochets. I've done a lot of stainless steel crochet and weaving.
I've seen that.
And that's because I've seen it happen in so many different ways. The armors that were made, the beautiful Christian embroidery that you see in South. So all that has influence, and it's come into my work, consciously, subconsciously, somewhere. These things just then stay with you.
See, I was like once given like an old silver bag which is completely crocheted.
Yeah, I can.
And it was like just stunning.
Another thing that's very beautiful.
Which I don't see now.
You don't. Enamel work in Jaipur, cold enamel, you don't see good quality anymore, and it's because it's no more. There are no more artisans. And last trip that I did, it was in Banaras. Banaras also has enamel work, and it's pink enamel that they do. It's famous of Banaras, and it took a long while for me to find one artisan and because it was so expensive and so difficult, so it was only done in gold. So I didn't have much of a choice but to pick that piece up, just to have it as a part of my, this thing. So sometimes you just burn a big hole in your pocket because you're trying to
But
get something.
look at where gold is today. We've had a lot of conversation on the indigenous art and craft. There's a lot of conversation around art, craft, functional, so do you say there are boundaries in your mind between art, in fine art, and functional art or craft? Or is it a fluid?
No, I think there's a very distinct difference. Art is something that you do as an artist individually, as an artist almost, kind of your own perspective, your own reflection, your own identity into what you see and how you react. Whereas functional art, the word itself, functional, kind of takes over, and it's almost like design where you're doing something that is going to be a utilitarian or useful for somebody. So it involves the thought process of another person. If I'm making a chair as an artist, I might make it in 2 legs and say, this is my chair. But if I'm making it as a functional object for somebody, then I will make it as a chair to sit on. And that the functionality of it has to be there.
Actually, you described this, because we have all these dialogues, and I like the way you described it, that you have designed it or done this with somebody else in mind.
Yeah. So it's a very distinct two things. People love to, there is a lot of gray space between art and design, but actually they're very clear and distinct.
One's a complete form of expression.
Yeah.
So you've been one of a very consistent advocate of indigenous craft practices. How did that journey begin for you?
I went to the States to study. I saw handmade pieces were like for, and as a student you see something for like some $50 or $100, such a small terracotta piece. And coming from a country like India where everything is handmade, it was so taken for granted that I was very clear when I come back, I have to be involved in some form of a craft or something. And then it just then has been a journey. And I think it's very important to understand that artisans and craftsmen have to be given that very distinct respect, and we negotiate and all. We should know how much to kind of push back and forward with them, because it's a form of art. I'm not saying it's art, but it's a form of art that is very skill based and developed by them for so many generations. And we have designers like who've been known for it. For example, Sabyasachi, who is known for all the kind of different crafts and everything, and that's how he built himself up on Indian crafts and all. But today, if you go to most stores of Sabyasachi, you will see it's all digital print of Ajrak, of anything else, and then embellished. So
they're also moving away from pure
exactly. So you're not really giving work to that Ajrak guy or to somebody else, Ikat guy. Everything is coming as digital prints, and people are just working on it because now it's become a base. Whereas eventually, the base fabric is what it started with. We're going to lose out on that.
And you're just basically not keeping that craft alive because it's really.
But you're charging the same amount, and when you go to and you'll pay that few lakhs for one piece done by a designer. But when you go to an artisan, you'll just kind of say, oh, बहुत महंगा और कम करो भैया ये वो and all, and it'll be a few thousands that you're negotiating with.
True. I think that's really, really important, because that respect for that work and his mehnat, is not
the must. One has to kind of.
In your view, what is the role of collecting or even curating when it comes to preserving traditional knowledge?
It's more for the coming generations, one. Second, it is a sense of sustainability and the ability to kind of build up something that is there for, first of all, to restore the past, and next to kind of bring it out to the future. We are just in the present and we are just in transit. The whole idea of anything that you kind of collect or procure at some level has to have meaningful something for the future and for the coming generations, because anything that I see in any workmanship that I see previously to what I'm seeing now, there's a vast difference. And
are you looking at cataloging your works and putting?
I'm very bad with all that. So I am a hands-on person. I'll do things. I can't do, but ideally I should.
tell me a little bit about, the Parliament project and the kind of people,
So
the indigenous artists that
I'd
you
done
work
2
with.
works there, and my own works, and then after I'd finished those, they'd asked me to curate the entire collection for the Parliament, and they'd asked me to do contemporary and folk and tribe. Basically, they left it on me, and I switched over to only folk and tribal. The idea was again to try and get as many artisans and craftsmen. So we did over, I think, 10,000 artisans or craftsmen who put their works. Some of them are master craftsmen, starting from kalamkari to ajrak to miniatures, name it. We had everything, varli, tankhas, gond. We made sure everyone had a space that they could put something in there. And it's also very important for these artisans craftsmen, because जब हम बोलते हैं हमारा संसद is our people, right? So for them to feel proud of the fact that they are a part of the parliament, and that kind of changed their whole thing. Even now, some of them think, who probably stopped working, they've made their sons to go and work in mobile shops and stuff like that instead of continuing the craft. But just because their work went into the parliament, there was this hope that they can definitely do something in the future. They will get another opportunity. इतना बड़ा parliament बना है, हमारा काम है. That kind of feel proud factor was there, which kind of changed their whole attitude, which was a must. It was needed, much needed.
That's amazing, because when I speak to a lot of karigars, they always say that the biggest problem is the next generation doesn't want to do anything, and especially with all this, access to mobile technology, media.
Also, it's so labor intensive. Every craft is so labor intensive. It is so much of it. And the new generation, I don't think really thinks it's worth investing themselves into doing something like this. Or like in Orissa, when we used to go before, Sambalpur saris were very easy to see with every farmer wearing and everything. And I've very extensively traveled within the country. But when I went to one of those weekend hearts, these markets, and I saw वहाँ पे कि they were all digital printed from Surat.
So everyone's following the whole digital
so screen,
revolution.
It was all just that, and because it was so cheap, फट भी जाएगी तो दुख नहीं है. Weave में तो it's so expensive, so that's the sad part.
So maybe I guess there needs to be perhaps a lot more collectors willing to, spend a lot more on.
Yeah, but the collectors would only buy pieces that are, there has to be a bigger way. Things like Dastakar or Dastakari-Haat are places who have, like Leila has worked a lot with artisans and craftsmen, where I feel it's brought to a level where the common man is still buying. They're, investing, they're getting into things. And also, it's another level where people just think they need to kind of ape the West. But our own traditions have so much to offer. And one of the big expenses that we have is weddings, where we really put money, throw money out. And when people do homes. Now, a lot of people want their homes to be very minimalistic, typically the West, contemporary. It doesn't mean that it has to be bare minimum. Yeah.
So, if you look at it, how do you feel about the whole label of folk, contemporary, when you're talking about galleries and collections? It tends to be a less of a...
I think now, fortunately, there is far more awareness, and now even auction houses are selling folk and tribal
I know,
art.
this is like a recent change.
Which is a very good switchover. It's a good place.
Work.
Yeah. Not just so many. He's just one, but there's so many who have... I wish they did the same to Indian textiles, because we have the best Banarsis, we have the best, the weaving brocades and stuff like that are just outstanding.
They are stunning.
So if only that could just reach a little more, and I think that's the only way to make the West look at what we have, rather than, even when you do a red carpet in the West, people are more interested in wearing gowns rather than your own traditional stuff. So
traditional sari. I'm also noticing in weddings, that was that one time you pulled out like a very old traditional sari, but now everyone's going for sequins.
So if I'm involved in any wedding and I see people trying to dress up into gowns, I am a big one to advocate and make sure that they don't, and they wear some family heirloom sari or because I really feel that's one time to kind of flaunt your tradition and your culture. And it's a must. I think it's a must for any family. If you are rooted deep into your own tradition, it's a must. And fortunately, Rajasthan still has a lot of it. So you see that in their thing. Down south, there is a lot. It's very important to keep that alive. Even actually, the northeast, every Sunday, if you go to see in Nagaland or anywhere, they all wear their shawls.
Yes.
Even now to the church. So, which is beautiful to see.
But what do you what do you think about, like, the next generation? And quite often, but it could twist, but like, what about looking at the indigenous art, maybe kind of adapting in terms of design towards something that the younger generation could relate more to?
So, it's all a question of the parents actually. How aware are you making your kids? Because if the kids are aware, I'm sure they will use some element of it somewhere or the other. They will try and bring that in. And it's more, how do you transcend that whole one thing to the other generation? I know some beautiful, good old jewelry, because I love jewelry, I buy jewelry. People selling old traditional pieces to buy just layers of diamonds, and that kills it. That's we have very beautiful settings that are done in jarrows and diamonds, but it's very Indian that the way it's done.
Polkis,
Yeah,
and I
and
love the
so, but how often do you see that now? That's a big.
there is a huge kind of, like, you definitely houses that the more houses you go in, they're all straight line
Yeah,
furniture.
a lot of people think contemporary means just straight lines, bare minimum, but it's not necessary.
No, okay.
Contemporary could be maximalism also. It could be how do you work around things. So,
As someone who's also a designer, how do you see the relationship between art, craft, and design? Do they speak different languages to you, or are they part of one larger practice for you?
very distinct. They all are very distinct. Like I said, art is a very personal journey. It's almost like dwelling inside yourself and working with yourself inside. Craft is more skilled and technically how do you kind of develop and work.
And design is
I work with
functional.
Dastakar and a lot of projects with them, and I'm on the board of it. And I've seen that the more I've worked, it's more important for craftsmen to understand कि आज भी they will sit and try and make a pen stand. They'll make taktis, and who uses them? So, like, you have to just, when you develop designs, you have to also make them aware that make a
Change.
mobile stand, make an iPad stand. Don't make a baksa or a bag. How about making a iPad cover?
Yeah.
So that switchover has to be made more distinct and clear to them, and they are happy to process that. So the skill still stays, the knowledge stays, but it's just the transit into how you work into another space, and it's a challenge. It's a space. So design is definitely very different. Design is purely functional, and like I said, it's a very need-based thing.
What do you think art does to a space, not just visually, but emotionally, spiritually?
I think art defines the place. And for me, I think any form of art can just be an entire revelation in its own way. It can develop an entire story by itself. And for me, the biggest test was the lockdown. When the lockdown happened, I just looked right, left, center. I never felt bored. I never felt I needed to go out, because there was enough art, there was enough craft, there was enough design around me just to enjoy my own home. So I think that can just define a life.
So then, when you are surrounded by art, do you kind of, when you're going to other homes, do you kind of look out for it? Do you kind of...
Definitely, some of my close friends know that if I come to their home, I will replace their stuff. It's a very clear understanding. When I go and stay with a few friends, they actually wait for me, because they know that he will not, I'll itch to do it. The aesthetic might not fit my and so I'll redo it, and without saying, I'll start doing it. And so it's a...
Do you think ever, And this is like something that I've also started looking at. Sometimes do you feel when you walk into someone's home and you see the art that you somehow learn a little bit about that person?
Definitely.
Without them speaking?
Definitely. A lot. And that's something that I will give a lot of credit to Prima, because there was a time when she sold some work of mine and she had a gallery, and she told me, pick up this, she said, why don't you pick up a work instead? And I picked up that Sura that you saw. And when I picked that work up, I picked up something else. And she told me that, you're over here just now, so you're liking it. You will eventually be here. And so pick this work up. And I said, in my mind, I thought for a second, maybe 𝗂𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗇, she's trying to palm me off a bad work, So,
That's so not Prima now, but
So I know, but I knew then also. So obviously I did what she said. And one fine day, after I think 5 years or so, I one day in the morning got up and I called her and I said, you were so right. Because the understanding or the way I grew personally and I learned to understand that work was a different experience. I felt very different when I saw that work. And so for that's the best way to say,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I also, in fact, when I see people walk in and I kind of like, they have a tendency, there's certain works just draw you and it's like, oh, I want this. And then there's certain works.
They grow on you.
So I always encourage buyers to come and, look at works 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But I just feel that there could be works you'll fall in love with, which
and mostly those works you don't fall in love with are the ones that are first go. You might just skip it even, but it's if you just go back to the work again and again, you'll start seeing.
Yeah, there is clearly, and I have stuff in my wall that initially I bought and I said, yeah, I'm happy. And now today, if I don't look at it on a daily basis, it feels like my life is not complete.
Very true.
And we've discussed this, that you collect a lot of non-art objects also. And tell us a little bit about, or do you? You textiles definitely, but like a lot of, do you collect posters?
Everything's art.
For me, everything,
I just approach towards anything is the aesthetics of what I like in a form of art. So it's hard to say that is anything not art. I think mostly everything is art. So
that's well said, actually. That's well put. Yeah. Okay, I think now it's back to like our collectors. What advice would you give to someone who's just beginning their journey with art? Maybe someone who loves it but does not know how to
just
start
dive into
collecting.
it, drown into it. The simplest thing is just drown into what you believe and just do it. But do it with a pure heart. Just be honest to yourself.
I think like it's also like a journey where you start actually
following
your heart.
Yeah.
Because that is also that switch. It may be very easy for you because you are an artist. But
it's something that if you like something, if you love something, you will buy it. Even you might grow out of it. But it kind of defines, or it's a point of your life when you loved it. So it's also your own process of growth. There are pieces that I'm not crazy about, but when I picked it up, it was my life and it depended on it. So I had to have it, but I've grown out of it in that manner. But they're equally important because
it was a part of your journey.
I was that at a particular time. It was me at a particular time. And we all grow, so we all develop. So it's going to keep changing. And just be honest to yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. When you buy something, pick something, be honest to yourself, you'll automatically get the right thing.
Because that means they have to switch off mind a little bit, right? And not like, is it a good investment? Is it this? Is it that? Is it this? There's like loads of questions that come.
I have never bought anything till date thinking that, is it a good investment? It's crazy because I've picked up pieces in silver, in gold. And today when I tell somebody that I didn't know what else to invest in, because this is what I liked, I picked and say, oh, do you know the price of gold now? Do you know the price of silver? But I never thought of buying it as a thing. Nor do I still think. I can't think like that. They're just a part of my journey. And how can you buy art thinking, is it an investment? Because then you're not really buying what you like. You're buying because it's something that is, somewhere or something. most of the people I know in Delhi have bought because इसके घर में देखा तो इसलिए हमारे पास होना चाहिए. Lot of, I don't want to name, but yeah, fashion designers have come and said हमारा रेड काउच है पुनीत के काम में रेड होता है तो हम वो लगा सकते हैं. If that's your logic, then you're not looking at the art at all. And art is a journey where you have so much of self-expression involved in it. It has to speak to you at some level.
Yeah, it doesn't have to match your furniture or your curtains or, be a good investment. It has
And
to
there
be...
are people who've changed their whole room. I know somebody whose commission work I just did in Calcutta. They commissioned a work. When the work was over, they redid their entire home, like the main drawing room, according to that one work. So there are people like that too. So that's where I think they've invested in the art that they believe in enough.
Yeah. I also believe that like the art gives back to you in terms of emotional the quotient is much more on a daily basis, so which can't be matched by anything else.
Very true.
What would you say to corporates and institutions or designers who are still thinking of art as an add-on instead of something that's integral?
So there are two questions.
Yes.
Corporates, industrialists, people like that need to far more invest in art, craft, design. But I personally feel more than just only art, India today needs a very solid backing and validation for the craftsmen, and because most of the craftsmen are like, they don't think, they are not considered artists, they're karigar hai. 𝗪𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗃 hai. But there is either a fashion designer or a 𝗪𝗵𝗃. There is no mid.
In between.
And these guys need to be defined, given a space, this thing, and so much of, the CSR money and all that is there, which should probably go more into investing in that space. Because
so actually maybe value our cultural heritage also
far
a lot more, no?
Yeah, and it's a must. It's a must. It has to be.
And it's such an important documentation of our
and
time and our journey as a country.
Yeah, and it shouldn't just be documentation, it has to survive.
Yes.
It needs to, like all this is happening, and just a good example would be 𝗂𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀 in near Dharamshala. They have each and every artisan craftsman who does some form of Tibetan art or something that they've created, and they're restoring, and almost like a school where they teach just to keep their heritage alive. So that's the kind of effort they have made to keep those things alive. That's what we need in and our country is every 1 kilometer there's a new craft, new artisan, new something will be there.
Yeah.
Weaver hoga,
very rich.
Yeah. So that's where I really feel I wish I had more money to invest in this craft.
Okay, this is your last and final question. Is if your collection told a story about you, what would it say?
My collection's like me. It's all over. It's everywhere. That's how it is. But it's pure from the heart. So that's how it is.
Wow, lovely. that is a brilliant way to end.
Thanks.
Pure from the heart. Thank you so much
for
sharing your story. Thank you so much for actually collecting the way you do, because I think it means a lot, and hopefully one day we get to see a lot more of your collection.
I hope so.
We're going to show some of them today.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Thanks so much, Puneet. Thank you so much.